Once again to another edition of the Suns Jam Session Podcast, coming to you live from the Footprint Center. A lot of different storylines that went down tonight. Phoenix Suns playing with the Big Three debuting. It's finally happened. The Big Three is here. The Twins are back in town. We have Cameron Johnson and Mikal Bridges returning to the Valley for the first time since playing for the Phoenix Suns this past February. But ultimately, the one thing that we will take away from this, Matthew, is a loss.
Yeah, a little disappointing, to say the least. I mean, when Mikal and Cameron Johnson come back and they have that tribute video, it's a little sad. And then you want it to end there, and you just want the Suns to take over, demolish the team, but they lose. So sad, man. Did you cry in the beginning? I cried a little bit.
You saw me. You saw that, didn't you?
Yeah.
We'll talk about that. I don't want to lead off with the Twins because obviously I think the big story here tonight was the fact that the Big Three did play together. But yeah, it was an emotional night welcoming the Twins back to Phoenix and, the memories and the what ifs, I mean, it's like, well, maybe they should have held on to them. Maybe they should have kept them. I mean, maybe they'd be winning this game. I don't want to go all the way down that rabbit hole, but it's definitely something that we were thinking, weren't we?
Yeah, I definitely think that all the time. Whether or not we're playing this team, I always think, it wasn't the right choice. But then when KD does get when he enters the game, I'm just like, dude, that guy's a badass. I'm okay with it. But then when he can't hit a shot to win the game, then I'm like, dude, you should have Mikal. And Cam Johnson.
Yeah, when Kevin Durant's making fouls in the last 7 seconds of the game, you're like, what are you doing? What are you doing here, Kevin? So plenty to talk about on this edition of the Suns Jam Session Podcast. We appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day to hang out with us. If the audio's a little wonky, yeah, we're at the stadium. That's what happens when home games happen. Representing Bright Side of the Sun, we are here. We are covering the game. So make sure that you subscribe, rate, and review wherever you're reviewing this. If you're watching along live, we appreciate you. Make sure that you hit that thumbs up button. It helps with the algorithms and such, or however that math works. So pop them if you got them, Suns fans. I'm going to pop a lemon head, Matthew.
Where'd you grab that at, huh? Was it on the floor?
It was downstairs. So I'm going to pop a lemon head.
Don't choke on it.
Let's talk about this game. Lemonhead, such a bad choice.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have to down that, right? You can't spit it out. You can't go back.
I just ate the whole thing.
Okay. Well, I'm proud of you, dude.
Oh, man. Well, a loss for the Phoenix Suns at the hands of the Brooklyn Nets. A very even match. I mean, you take a look at the overall statistics, and it was pretty evenly matched, but it's still going to bring me to a question.
Oi, Matty. Mate, I've got to ask.
Matthew, I got to ask. I talked about it on the last podcast. Will the Suns ever be able to box out?
I mean, when they can't, it looks bad. And it comes in the worst situations. I mean, you were talking about how this Brooklyn Nets team, they're big and physical. They kind of remind you of the Lakers, but I'm like, yeah, they're stringy, and they are stringy too. Like they're everywhere, right? They're gonna find those little crevices and get in there and just snatch those rebounds or tip it back in. It's tough because when you're watching guys like KD and Nurkic down there that are flat-footed, there's nothing they can do. They can hold their position, but these guys just come in like zombies. Are not zombies. I guess fast zombies, right? Is that what I don't know what I'm talking about there.
Like the zombies from World War Z. Have you ever seen that movie?
There you go. But those are zombies, right? Because as soon as I said zombies, I'm like, wait, are those zombies? Okay.
No.
Yeah, like
World
those
War
zombies.
Z zombies.
Where they climb the walls and stuff like that and just, kill people within seconds. That was the way the Nets were tonight, man. And it can be so frustrating as Suns fans to keep watching that night after night because you don't really have any other options to help right now.
Yeah, it's again the ability to box out has been a challenge for the Suns, and It's not because of this guy.
Delicious definition make them boys go crazy.
Oh.
Yusuf Nurkic went for 22 rebounds tonight. 22. The team overall had 48. He nearly had half of their total rebounds. And therein lies the challenge with this team, is they don't have a great secondary rebounder behind them. He is a physical type rebounder, not an athletic type rebounder. And with all these long athletic wings that the Suns possess, you'd think that they'd have a team rebounding mentality behind them, but they don't. And that's the challenge. And I see a lot of the Jamsters were hanging out in the chat, and they're mentioning that as well. The fact that we've wasted, Michael Cole, right, a wasted Nurkic game. No pace of play, no sense of urgency when you get down the whole game. 3-point was okay. They killed us from deep. And that's where obviously we miss Eric Gordon and we miss Grayson Allen. But it's John Tran, a wasted Nurk game. That's what happened in this game. It was a great Nurk game. And a lot of that's because their inability to garner rebounds and to negate the opposing team from getting rebounds. 16 second chance points for the Nets in this game. They win 116-112. That's 16 points is something. And we're seeing this kind of consistently, that the Suns, as of late, since December has started, they're a top 10 team when it comes to giving up second chance points. You just can't do that and expect to win, man.
No, you can't. And it wasn't a wasted Nurk game, but I like to see how Nurk just kind of really shined in a way where you kind of weren't expecting it too much, right? You kind of were thinking like the focus would be on Bradley Beal, Booker, and Kevin Durant, the big three finally starting together. But Nurk just shows you like how awesome he can be, but how much of a real connector he is with this offense and even defensively. He does so much for this team, even defensively, when he can grab a block, push the pace, and he can just like make sure that they have the fast break going as soon as he gets the ball. That's huge for a center to do. Not just to block the ball out of bounds, but to grab it off the board and just push the pace. But also just offensively, man, like he's going to just have to pick and choose. Does he want the ball? And does he want to punish the center, the opposing center, and get his? Or does he want to pass it off and keep this offense going? At times, he's going to have to pick and choose. It's going to be a rough decision for him. But I think if he can go with the flow of the game, man, like he did tonight, when he's hot, he's going to want the ball, and he deserves it. And he can punish those guys. And I think he's kind of learning, what shots to take and what shots not to take. Even with these guys just being on the court for the first time together, you can see he's already learned. I think with Beal being back last game really helped him learn Beal, but he was really just working with Devin Booker a lot, especially in the third quarter or the second quarter, where him and Booker were just kind of just owning the game at that time, and also just KD working with him too. But Beal's the next guy to kind of implement into that process of them just getting things together. But I'm super excited because he's the guy that I always look for every game because he's the difference maker. Because a lot of these guys, well, including the big three, they, of course, are going to carry us to a championship. But this guy, he has to be healthy the rest of the season. If he's not, I don't know what this team does because he is like a Walmart version of Jokic, but he can just keep this offense going, keep the ball moving. And tonight was just amazing, I think, by him, obviously. Big Beefin. Shout out to Trey Kirby from No Dunks. Big Beef, 22 rebounds. Pretty awesome.
Yeah, I love the fact that we're talking about Nurkic to kick off this podcast because he is going to be the guy, as we are going to talk about the big three, obviously, but he's going to be the guy who's going to truly benefit from the big three being there. The gravity, we were seeing it right off the bat. The gravity that Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, and Kevin Durant are going to pull are going to leave certain guys open. Nurkic is going to be one of those guys because of his lack of athleticism. A lot of defenders believe that they can sag off of him, provide help defense, and then recover appropriately. But the way that he is going to get opportunity with this big three is one of the keys that we mentioned as we were watching this game. Nick Claxton for the Nets is a player who is more of an athletic type center, right? What has Yusuf Nurkic had challenges with thus far this season? The athletic type centers. So because of the gravity, he could actually cook a little bit in this game. Again, he had the 22 rebounds. He also finished with 16 points. He was 7 of 15 from the field. A couple blocks, 3 assists. It was a fantastic game by Yusuf Nurkic, and it's something that we're going to continue to watch and see what kind of chemistry is developing between him and Beal, as you mentioned in the last game. A lot of him and Booker in this game. Him playing off of KD. When we start getting those high screen rolls with Nurkic and KD, putting opposing 4s and 3s into tough situations, it's going to be a challenge for opposing teams. And that's one thing I want Suns fans to take away from this. Yeah, we're 13-11. Yeah, the Big Three made their debut tonight, and they didn't win the game. But yeah, they have a lot of learning to do, and you can't judge the entire Big Three experience off of one night at home against the Nets, who are a long team, as you said earlier, stringy team. They remind me of the Lakers due to their length as defenders and their switchability as defenders. They have a lot of long wings. The difference between the Lakers and the Nets is the Lakers are a much more physical brand of basketball and dangerous with Jackson Hayes.
Yeah, and it's just nice to see like them on the floor for one game. I'm not really buying into the whole, they can't get it right in the first game together. It looks like shit. Bradley Beal is looking at the body language, look kind of frustrated with himself or just not getting the ball as much. I'm going to give it 5 to 10 games. You know what I mean? I know it's a big stretch, but we have to see it that long. And I think this team can dominate certain times and then have clunkers like this tonight. But then also, you're kind of looking forward to those 10-game win streaks coming up. And it'll happen, right? It's still a young season. And around the corner, there's big things for this Big Three.
Absolutely. And we'll talk about them a little bit. But we're not even going to talk about the Big Three as of yet. I think it's time that we talk about the Twins. So obviously the Twins return to downtown Phoenix. Mikal Bridges, Cameron Johnson. It was an emotional experience. They had the tribute video. It's been weird, and I'll say this: it's been weird this season, especially being down here at the arena, because we've seen Chris Paul and Dario Saric return. We've seen DeAndre Ayton return, but nothing's quite the same as Mikal Bridges and Cameron Johnson returning, Matthew.
No, and they were Cameron Johnson was asking for the game, about the tribute videos, and he said that Mikal's definitely going to get one, and they'll probably throw a little thank you in for him at the end, him being Cameron Johnson. But that wasn't the case; it was combined, and I like that because that's what made it so emotional, because the connection those guys had, and like the last little part of the video where they're like, fake punching or just whatever, wrestling, whatever the hell they're doing. It's like, dude, like that was just such a fun season. It just kind of just brings you back, obviously, to the finals run and just trying to stick together with that team as long as we could until it was split up. You know what I mean? So it does have you think while you're watching that. It's like, it's emotional. I want those guys back, but also just like the Suns. The first thing that goes through my mind is like the Suns have to win like soon. Otherwise, this thing of, was it the right trade? All of that, it's going to keep coming back around. And I don't think it's a bad thing that I think about that. It's just the Suns have to shut me up and just really show it on the court. Like I said, 5 to 10 games, and we'll see. But Mikal and Cameron Johnson coming back tonight it was awesome to see, dude. I'm glad I got to see him backstage too for the first time. See him in person up close, which was really cool because I those guys were just huge to me. And I know Chris Paul coming back was big and Dario Saric, but those two are just on a different level, I feel like.
Yeah, when they showed the tribute video, you were sitting next to me, and you could see I was tearing up a little. I didn't cry, but I got a little emotional. I got a little bit beklept. I was beklept in that moment because, what they brought, they brought us KD. They brought us one of my favorite players of all time, and it's to see them and see the moments. And what always drew us to them was the manner in which they played basketball and the fun in which they played. And ever since they left, this has been a team, with Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, who are hyper-focused on winning, even though they're not necessarily doing that, but hyper-focused on being competitive. And it's not as fun as it used to be. It was a fun brand of basketball. They were two of the players who were part of the NBA Finals run. We had 2 here last night with Chris Paul and Dario Saric. We had 2 here tonight with Cameron Johnson and Mikal Bridges. Overall, their performances, Cameron Johnson had a great game, in my opinion. 15 points on 3 of 7 shooting from beyond the arc. Mikal Bridges had 21 points on 7 of 19, kind of a rough shooting night for him. 3 of 9 from beyond the arc. They combined for 3 steals, 2 blocks from Cameron Johnson. It wasn't them who really killed us in this game. It was just a collection of their entire team. It was team basketball from the Brooklyn Nets, and it's something that the Suns are going to be working towards doing with their Big Three. Starting off with the guy who was kind of the alpha tonight.
Big Dick Booker.
That is going to be the big question, is as this Big Three starts to play with each other, is how do they mesh? Is it a your turn, my turn kind of offense? Is it something that becomes fluid? Does chemistry start to play a factor? Devin Booker tonight ends with a total of 34 total points. He goes 9 of 15 from the field and 14 of 15 from the line. Has 12 assists, a 34 and 12 night from Devin Booker. And it was interesting because at the beginning of the game, it was a lot of ISO book. He was really running a lot of isolation sets, trying to playmate, trying to set up his teammates. And when they went cold and gave up a 16-0 run that bridged the first and second quarter, and Devin Booker came back, he's like, okay, fuck it. I guess I got to be Big Dick Booker and just score all the points.
Yeah, he was like really getting to the rim, like him coming towards us, at the rim, drawing fouls and doing whatever he can to keep this team like close in the game or taking the lead. And of course, they took the lead when we went down to get hot dogs and came back up and they lost the lead. And it was over after that. So I guess we're kind of bad luck up here in the media booth. But I think that what Booker kind of brings now is the alpha, like he said. And if Beal's okay with it, it's going to be a thing. This is his team for sure. He had the 7 assists in the first half. Shooting was okay, but like you said, he kind of just took over in the second half. But everything just looks so good from him, man. Like, the way he facilitated, the way he kind of get him and Nurk work together, like I mentioned earlier, it just was so crisp from him, man, tonight. And we said Waits did a good Nurk game. This Booker game was incredible, I thought. Like, he just is so close to that triple-double kind of. Like, he had like the 5 rebounds in the third by the end of the third quarter. And I was like, okay, maybe he has a chance for the triple-double. It just doesn't happen. It never works out for him that way, but I'm sure he would have the win instead. The only thing is, towards the end of the game, you have KD taking shots, and that's fine, I guess. The shot selection between even him and KD, like the last 3 that Booker took for them to really have a chance to get into this game and cut it to 3, it was just top of the key, like 3 feet behind the line. It was just unnatural from him. I'm like, that was such a bad look, man. Yeah, so at times I was mad at KD and just him not being able to get anything to go down, but the way that Booker kind of handled himself to end the game, that has to be fixed. I know there's a lot of Jamsters in the chat right now talking about Vogel. He sucks. It's not Vogel right now, right? We talked about Monty only having 2 wins over there in Detroit and how more, praise has to go to CP3 and what he did for this franchise. This is going to be a team that wins and loses by however Booker and KD goes, really. If their shots go down or not, that's all it is, I feel like.
Well, and it's weird because I see some of the things in the chat, like Iverson, who's typically the most negative guy in any chat. He's unless the Suns go 82-0, he's not happy. And he says, this team is a joke. I just got called negative. We had the big 3 and lost. Like, Iverson, what the fuck did you expect? They've never played together on the court at the same time. That they're going to go out and just blow the shit out of people? Lower your expectations, bro. Do you know ball? Like, I don't want to say that stupid phrase, but it's like, what is truly your expectation? That this team's going to go 82-0 with them always in there? I mean, it's basketball. Yeah. There's a team on the other side that does possess – the Nets are a decent team, right? They're now 13-10. Suns are 13-11. The Nets are 13-10. They're a team that has chemistry with Mikal Bridges and Cameron Johnson, and they're a team that is a quality team, and you have to respect that. So at the same time, and with Coach Fonfano, equipment manager Fonfano, pull that back up. We're missing Lee, Gordon, Allen, Okogie. So we're missing a bunch of players. Okay, they have one guy out on Brooklyn, so they're playing their fully loaded gun, and to be frustrated with Vogel because the team's not hitting 3-pointers, if the team goes 9 of 28 from beyond the arc, because Vogel's out there shooting. Again, it's to each its own. Your fandom is your fandom, but I can also have opinions on your fandom. And I think that, there's 2 things. Like, one, have realistic expectations, or don't. You do you, boo. And, if your name is A and you're a Lakers fan, you're Suns post-game chats against the Nets, get a fucking life, you loser.
No, keep coming back. But I just want to say, too, like, the excuses, they're not really excuses because, honestly, I feel like I know, like, deep down, like, when a loss is a bad loss now. By the time I'm at this age, watching the Suns my whole life, it just doesn't matter right now. Like Jim Carrey and Dumb and Dumber, when he's at the bar, he's like, I don't care. When that girl keeps talking to him, it's like, these games, when they're losing these games, even if they win this one, it's like, I don't fucking care because this is not how they're going to look. If they look this way, obviously going to playoffs, it's going to be miserable. But right now, it's just like, I don't care. Let's just get to 10 games healthy and get, like Valentiner said, all those other guys, even a Kobe coming back and Grayson Allen, those are big key contributors to this team. We can't just act like it doesn't matter because it does. So I just don't care enough.
Yeah, I want to see progression. Isn't that right? Is that the one thing that we're really keyed in right now? Progression. This is a starting point right here, knowing that no rotations are set because the two primary guys who are going to be your key guys who are offensive forces coming off the bench in Allen and Gordon were not available tonight. And that's just the way it is. So this is a starting point, the first time that the big three plays together. They lost by 3 points to a quality team, or 4 points, I'm sorry, to a quality team. Accept it and move on. I do want to talk a little bit about Bradley Beal.
She said you're not the only one, but you're the best, Bradley. Boom, boom.
Bradley Beal had a really good game, in my opinion, but was somebody who was really just kind of not engaged at all times because he's trying to learn his spot in the rotation, I guess. But he played 34 minutes tonight. He was 6 of 9 from the field, 2 of 2 from beyond the arc, 14 points, 4 assists, 1 steal. Why wasn't Bradley Beal more involved, do you think?
It could be one or two things. I mean, if he's just not really ready and available, emotionally, no, I'm just kidding, physically, and just being there and just able to actually run off picks and get open and stuff right now, that's fine. Obviously, it makes sense for him to kind of work his way into that. So if Booker's running the offense and he just knows, like, hey, Beal's going to kind of take a back seat, hit his wide open three when it's there, that's fine right now until he can get himself in the back into shape. I'm okay with that. But there is kind of a body language thing I picked up on a little bit. He just kind of does seem a little frustrated out there. I think it's more of just his game right now and just him having to get back into things. He's probably still freaked out about the back, freaked out about, like, hey, if I go down injured again, like, fuck, this fan base is going to be after me. That's in the back of his head. It has to be. So there's a lot going through that guy's mind until he can hit 10 or 15 games straight without having to deal with any kind of injury. Once that happens, he'll be in good motion with his offense, and he'll be able to pick and choose when he wants to take over with Booker. But, like, tonight, it's all Book, right? Booker's just going to take over. He's going to make sure that Beal gets his when he's open. But there was just no movement from Beal, like, most of the game. I barely knew he was out there. Then he would exit the game. Like, oh, I had no idea he was even in the game. So that's a bad sign, but it's not bad when it's like, oh, this guy fucking sucks. It's just bad when, like, he's going to be taking a little bit longer to get back into the group of things. It's fun.
Yeah, I mean, he's working himself back into basketball shape, and he is an elite athlete, and it's going to take him some time. And we've been through this before, Suns fans. Remember Devin Booker last year when he came back after 25 games being gone? It took about 4 or 5 games to really kind of get his legs under him. To your point, he was out there a lot of times, and you didn't really notice it because he was gravitating towards the corners. That's where he found himself on continual possessions. The beginning of the game, the first quarter, when he was highly effective and was the leading scorer for the Suns, he was coming off back screens, coming off pin downs, and find himself open and hitting those shots. And it tired him out a little bit. You could see a little bit of fatigue, and I feel like that's some of the body language that we saw tonight was just some of the fatigue and some of the frustration with the fatigue. The fact that he wants to be there so bad, but he's not there yet, and it's going to be a process. About 4 or 5 more games to start to have those legs under him, and he could become an offensive force in that fourth quarter. But again, I think that all positive things. It was great seeing him out there. Great seeing the big three out there overall. Obviously, the third member of the big three, one Kevin Wayne Durant.
Who the heck are you?
I'm Kevin Durant. You know who I am. Y'all know who I am.
Did anybody see a sniper? Did anybody see anything?
I'm one of the best players to ever play the game.
A rough night for Kevin Durant to start the game relative to shooting. He ends 9 of 18 from the field, but only 1 of 5 from beyond the arc. 27 total points. He had 4 assists, 6 rebounds, 1 steal, 2 blocks, and 1 savage block in there, and 1 really, really dumb foul, Matthew.
Yeah, and it was his first game back after missing a couple, so it takes a while, man. And honestly, he had such a good stretch in the beginning of the season where it's just like he kind of needed a break, right? And I think more of his injury was a little bit of more of a rest. Him getting back into things and clanking those shots tonight that were big shots. It's rough to watch at times, but you just know he's going to have those offsetting games, meaning like 5 or 6 game stretches where everything's going in, and he's KD. So tonight, like, he tried to take it in his own hands, right, to be the hero and lead the Suns to a victory. It just wasn't falling for him tonight.
Yeah, and once I knew the fourth quarter came around and it started to get a little bit close, I knew KD would go into KD mode. And unfortunately, due to the fact that he was just kind of off a little bit, I had a feeling it wasn't going to necessarily go the way that the Phoenix Suns wanted it. And that's just kind of That's just the way it goes. Like I said, that's my phrase this year. That's just the way it goes.
That's just the way it goes.
after we continually lose time and time again.
Is that the thing you always say?
I've been saying it a lot this year because
That's the
said
one
it
thing.
on a
Okay, I thought it was
podcast.
something else. Okay.
No, I said it on a podcast earlier how whenever I say that in my head, I start to sing the South Park song.
Oh, yeah,
Canada.
that is it. Yeah.
That's the way it goes. And we're shat upon till we die. No resistance lives on. But what are your expectations for the big three over the next 5 games? Like, what are you looking for? Are you looking for W's or are you looking for progression? Because, again, the chat goes crazy anytime we lose a game. And they might as well just become fans of a different team because they're like, well, the Suns are going to choke again. Then why are you fucking watching, guys? Like, yeah, it is. It's part of the experience, Clark. Jeez, the little lights, they're not twinkling.
What I'm watching is just when they're bringing the ball up, is everyone just going and doing what they're supposed to be doing, right? A lot of times tonight, you can just see them kind of stand like, wait, what? Who has the ball? I mean, am I supposed to bring the ball? You know, they're just kind of taking their turns. They're just kind of standing there watching each other. Once that goes away, then I'm okay with it. I think it's just going to be there for a little bit. And you can see how, like, even Booker's just trying to manage things, even with Nurk. Getting on to Nurk a few times today and him going back and forth with Nurk. That kind of expired a little bit over the last few games. I feel like Nurk was kind of just on his own. He wasn't getting yelled at by mom and dad, but tonight he was kind of again, but it has to do with just working guys back in and Nurk having to just manage so much with that team. But once guys just know what the hell to do out there and you can just see those 12-0 runs, you know what I mean? Then I'm okay. Obviously, Matthew, but that's just all. It'll take a few games, but it'll be there soon.
Yeah, and that's what we're waiting for is that offensive firepower to just think about the preseason, right? In a couple of the preseason games, the Suns would just lay it on. And what really killed them was that stretch where they gave up that 16-0 run. They were digging themselves out of that hole for the remainder of the game, went up by 7, in the late third, early fourth, but ultimately just didn't have the energy to close it out. And, a shout out to, again, equipment manager, Fallen Founder, good, bad, or indifferent. The Suns are going to continue to try to find what that chemistry is. And we're just all along for the ride. That's why we watch the regular season. That's why we are fans. That's why we're fanatics. Because as we watch the season and you see these peaks and you see these valleys, you have to understand that at the end of the day, it's a growth opportunity. And this team has to mold and they have to mesh and they develop that chemistry that's going to be so key come playoff time. It's not there. And if it was, I'd be a little bit shocked. But it is going to happen soon. We play the Knicks on Friday, Sean Marion night. And it's great, for those. They got Sean Marion just chilling up there on the screen, because it's Sean Marion night next week or next Friday. But that's what's going to happen is we're going to have a couple games here pretty soon where all of a sudden, boom, Suns are up 15 in the blink of an eye, and then they have to hold the lead, and that's a whole other thing. We haven't even gotten to that yet. The Suns are digging themselves out of situations. They haven't had to hold a lead necessarily with the big three because it hasn't happened yet. Because guess what, ladies and gentlemen, Jamsters over the world, this is our first game being playing together. So,
yeah, and you know what?
Pop a lemonhead.
This is all they think about, right? This is Booker, KD, and Beal. This is all they're going to be talking to. It's not like we have a bunch of DeAndre Aytons here. We have to you worry about them ever getting it together because they don't give a fuck outside of the game, right? This is what they're probably talking about right now, going to sleep, texting each other about. They're Chris Pauling it like 2 o'clock in the morning, just like sending a text or sending a telegram, whatever he did in the past, where he just called somebody up 2 o'clock in the morning and talk basketball. These guys are trying to figure it out, right? So it's the experiment of just game by game and just trying to figure out what works, what doesn't work. But obviously, it's just figuring out, like, in which situation, who should have the ball, and who the ball should go through. But we already know it's going to be a mix. And it's not going to be like, oh, Beal should have ran that possession. You know what I mean? It's not going to be like that. It's going to be like, okay, when these guys are feeling it, they'll know who should own the ball and sorry, I got distracted. Own the ball in what situation. Sorry. Never mind. Keep going.
Hey, I just
met you.
And this is crazy, but here's my number.
4.
So call me maybe.
Shamet Zone got the start as the 5th starter for the Phoenix Suns tonight. Obviously, with Josh Okogie being injured, with KBD not playing well as of late, and that's just the way that it is right now. I like the Metu play, but he only played 20 minutes because of the way that the Nets were attacking. When they had Claxton in there, they were a slower team. But when they went small ball, it really affected Metu. He scored 8 points. He had 4 rebounds. He hit a couple threes, which was much appreciated because, again, the Suns only hit 9 of them. So anybody who hit a 3 tonight, you were slow clapping like, thank God. But at the same time, we talked about it before. KBD, Metu. It was KBD over Metu in the final 5 minutes. What are your thoughts on that?
It's just, I don't know. What am I supposed to think? KBD getting minutes? I don't know, dude. It's kind of it's one of those things that just doesn't really come into my mind. Like, it's just I glance over it when it comes to KBD unless he really sticks out. He definitely is a guy that you don't know is on the floor. But with Metu, to start the game, I thought he was fantastic, and I like him in the starting lineup, of course, with that team. But the thing is, like, you need him to be more physical too. Like when he's playing with Nazir Little, and they have like the big 3 in there, or minus Beal, and you have Nurkic in there with those guys. That's fun to watch because I think at times you can see Metu and Nazir just coming from both sides, defensively and then offensively. Like there's a cutting, they're gonna try to grab the offensive board, they're gonna try to make a mess in there after someone shoots an outside shot. So that happens. I feel like when that does happen, it's fun to watch. But like you said, he can't get played out of the game. So it's like, okay, well, we had high hopes for him or something. It's like, no, it's just like, it's like one of those things where it's like when Okogie is able to, deliver when the big 3's healthy and now he's of course out, like you'll see his game just develop with the big 3 in there. And it's the same thing with Metu. When he's actually able to play like coming off the bench, and like when Grayson Allen comes back, maybe Grayson Allen starts. But when Metu comes in off the bench or something and he's able to play with like Little, I think those two are going to be kind of a menace towards the end of the year. But it's just going to take some time, man. They're going to go through some bad games where he gets played out of the game. It makes sense for a guy like Metu. It's not going to be consistent like you think.
No, that's a bench player. I mean, they're all inconsistent. I think that, the first quarter of the season was survival mode. No Bradley Beal, no Devin Booker, no Kevin Durant. The Suns were in survival mode. Now this is growth mode. The next quarter of the season, all right? So the halfway point for the Suns this season is January 19th after a game against the New Orleans Pelicans, all right? That'll be game 41 of 82. Until then, this is growth mode. And growth, there's going to be some bumps and bruises along the way. And it is Frank Vogel identifying what his rotations are at the back end of the game, putting KBD in the last 5 minutes to see if his length and his athletic intangibles are the right recipe for success defensively to help this team. And they got stops late in the game, key stops, and KBD was in there and part of those things. Jordan Goodwin was out there. Why? Because he's a fuck shit up guy, right? He's part of the fuck shit up fraternity. So that's what the Suns and Frank Vogel are going to be navigating for the next quarter of the season, is to dial in those rotations, really understand and fortify those roles. And again, there's a lot of those variables out there right now that are just unfortunate. Not having Okogie out there to play in the last 5 minutes, not having Grayson Allen or Eric Gordon to saddle the times in which you have either Booker off the court or you have Beal off the court, right? To have that secondary guard who can still score next to one of the 2 other guys. So those extra variables are something that the Suns are trying to navigate. Their stars did their best to carry him. Their role players were kind of average. I think that boxing out was unbelievably unimpressive again tonight, and it's what ultimately cost them a victory at home against the Twins. But Twins versus Big 3, Twins win, and that's just kind of, dare I say it, Matthew, that's the way it goes.
That is the way it goes. And really quick, too, I feel like Cam Thomas did a great job tonight, but I just feel like at times,
he's a good basketball player.
He's really good, but to me, I'm always like, I feel like Mikal Bridges needs to have the ball more. That's not just like me being a big Mikal Bridges fan. It's just me, thinking like he's a better player all around, but maybe not. I thought he just, during are the Nets on a win streak? I know they won 2 in a row. I don't know if they won 3 in a row before getting here, but I just know on their little 2-game win streak or whatever they had, like Mikal was scoring and, he was just handling the ball more, I thought. So it was just weird for me to see Cam Thomas, just have the ball as much as he did, but I haven't really watched the Nets that much.
Do you know who sucks?
Ooh.
Yuta, the shoot.
Yuta, the I can't shoot a. This guy's what that 0-2 from beyond the arc. I think they. When's the last time he hit a 3? 0.7 minutes
yesterday.
Did he hit one?
I think he had 2 yesterday, didn't he? Oh, did you just close out? All right, well, John's gone. So, yeah, Yuta did have a couple threes yesterday, but also Yuta is the guy that you want to really watch and make sure that he's on the bench. That's where you want to watch him, right, John? You want to watch Yuta on the bench, not on the floor, right?
100%. I don't even want to watch him on the bench, man.
I know, and I feel bad sometimes, but dude, it's ridiculous, man.
Somebody said earlier in the chat, it's peaks and L valleys right now, and he's just going through one. You know, that's why we say that it's peaks and L valleys, but that's why we say he's living in the Shamet Zone.
You're traveling through another dimension, a dimension not only of bricks and of boards, but of mind. A journey into a wondrous land whose boundaries are that of stagnation. That's a signpost up ahead. Your next stop, the Shamet Zone.
Yeah, so Shamet, who's going to be here on Sunday, because the Wizards are coming back, the Shamet revenge game, oh shit. But that's where Yuta Watanabe's kind of living right now, that lack of confidence, and it's primarily on the defensive end. And here's what scared me tonight, Matthew. One of the 2 attempts by Yuta Watanabe was a flat 3. Like, oh shit, that is very Shamet-esque.
Yeah, he bricked it right in the front of the rim. It's nasty to watch when he's wide open. Do you notice like every release he has is just totally different from the last one? Like it just never looks the same. It just you can feel him thinking out there with every shot. And I was trying to switch back to play Eubanks drop, but Eubanks is definitely in the Shamet Zone for me. 4 minutes tonight, negative. What was he? Negative 18 or something crazy like that. But even KD tonight was just like, dude, chill out, because he had the ball up there at the top of the key. No one was on him. So it's like drive and just make something work, draw a foul, or pass it out to the corner 3-point shooter whoever was standing there. And he just didn't do either. He froze with the ball. I don't know what happened to this dude. I know I talked about him being a starting center, and you blame it on me, obviously. But right now, dude, Eubanks is right there with Shamet to me. He is. And it's disappointing because in a game like this, I want Eubanks to step up to where it's a more athletic team, and he's our more athletic center, even though compared to the Nets, not as athletic, but you want him to battle with those guys, and he was only able to play the 4 minutes. Did he get hurt? Did he get hurt?
I don't know. He was wearing those Air Jurassic Parks tonight, so I don't know.
Those are nice.
So he's not in the Shamet Zone because the Shamet Zone is like it's when a shooter loses their confidence.
He has no confidence, though. Does it have to be a shooter, though, really quick? Does it have to be a shooter?
For the Shamet Zone, yeah.
Oh, man.
But Drew Eubanks is more of in like the Jock Landale like zone, if you will. I don't know if it's a zone or if it's just like it's like a seedy part of the bar, you know, where like nobody goes. It's like the part of the bar where the big ballers hang out, but like it's a guy by himself because no one wants to be his friend. And he's just all by himself and he's alone. He's wearing funky looking Air Jurassic Park shoes on, and everyone's like, "What's up with the guy with the shoes?" But yeah, Eubanks is Spewbanks right now. He makes me want to throw up. It's unfortunate, man, because he has that athleticism, he has that ability to finish around the rim, but for some reason, I don't know if the tape on him is out to opposing coaches and they're studying it. Like, hey, when this guy comes in, knock him off his spot. And he's not going to have the ability to be as effective because he's not a great shooter. He's 100% from beyond the arc, but that was like an oh shit 3, right? So, I mean, it is what it is. And what do I always say? That's just the way it goes.
That's just the way it goes. So I think Eubanks is just he's stuck in the jock strap or whatever.
He's stuck in the
Jock Landale's jock strap. Okay, I guess you can do that. But honestly, for the Shamet Zone, I might have my own rules. Because the Twilight Zone is endless and different dimensions intertwined. So I have my own, and Eubanks is part of it. So
if you go by the Shamet Zone, it does say it's a place of, I forget what the Shamet Zone says. Let's just go to the subreddit.
The Suns Jam Session subreddit stakeout.
All right, so I was hanging out in Brooklyn on their Brooklyn subreddit, and I'll tell you this, one thing, the Brooklyn subreddit, not a lot of people there. You know, I was on the Warriors subreddit last night, and they're popping off, they're talking crap, they said Devin Booker's got beady little eyes, they're just rude. But when you look at what the Brooklyn Nets subreddit said, they were talking a lot about Yuta Watanabe because Yuta Watanabe used to play for the Nets. And they said, Yuta used to always make those threes with us, which again fortifies the fact that he's in the Shamet Zone. I don't know why they didn't just trade Chris Paul for even just one solid role player. KD and Book with a bunch of solid role players is a championship team. That Beal contract is going to haunt them. What do you think of that one, Matthew?
I don't know.
Unmute. I unmuted you. Oh, I can't.
Okay, whatever. There you go. Hey. All right, so what I was saying was, what was the question again? I think I just went wall-eyed. Oh, no, not at all. No, I don't agree with that at all. I mean, come on. We know what we have back in the book and who's coming in off the bench when they're healthy. We know who it is. That contract, yeah, it sucks. But what do I always say? Contracts don't matter in the NBA. It's non-existent. It doesn't matter. So get rid of it later on.
Okay, I'll allow it. Somebody said beat KD fucking ass. Rude. I never watch Western Conference teams. Booker's pretty good, huh? Like, they were complimenting Booker consistently. Every time we go to one of these subreddits, especially when you have a Western Conference foe, and then if you throw in a Pacific Division foe, man, they dog Devin Booker. No, not the Nets. Like, hey, this guy's pretty good. Excuse me. I can't believe they have Book and KD on the same team. Well, they said in the same team, but that doesn't make anything. And then the last comment, fuck Magic Johnson.
The Suns Jam Session Subreddit Stakeout.
All right, Matthew, anything else from your notes that we've missed thus far in this conversation?
Let me take a look. But the music's gone, right? All right, so...
I can sing to you.
No.
Oh, the weather
It's amazing how
outside.
you go over everything. It's like you're looking at my notes during the game, man.
I was just over here just taking pictures the whole time. I'm like, I want to talk about that. Oh, whoa.
What the heck?
Hold on. This happened to me the other day. It's my phone. My phone does this.
That's awesome, man.
Those listening, what did I do the other day?
Oh, I got it too.
There's something that you can make it look like an explosion. What was it? For those listening, I'm sorry. So here's what's happening. Is Matthew and I did a thumbs up, and a little bubble came up on the screen. It's something with an iPhone or something or other. And, gosh, I'm trying to think of what it was the other day where I was just like, I did it on a call. I was on like a Zoom call, and I did something. All of a sudden, there was like explosions behind me. I don't remember what it was. But anyways, so says Jay just said in the chat, says, oh, my God, that happened with me on the Aussies, because he was on this Aussie Suns fan podcast and I saw it happen. I'm like, that's funny. There's one where you can make an explosion behind you. What is the move you have to do? This is so us. If you're listening, we're sorry. Just like keep hitting thumbs up or fast forward until you do it. What is it? Is it
I don't know. Like that?
No.
What
other things would you do on a Zoom call?
I was gonna say pick your nose.
I'm just making faces.
We're running out of things.
Oh no, we definitely are. I'm gonna do Jamstar, then we're gonna get out of here because we have to drive home. But now, what is it? Somebody in the chat tell me.
Gabo said, "Did you fart?" Lol.
No.
Is that it?
If you just do this, it's that. It gives a thumbs up.
So
like John Nelson's in the chat. He's just like, this team needs to work on their passing. He does. We're sitting here trying to do like thumbs up. And I think it's time for the Jam
Star of the game.
Matthew, Jam Star of the game. Who are you giving to? Are you going Devin Booker? Are you going Yusuf Nurkic? Or are you going with the Twins?
This is actually a tough one because I love Nurk's game, but the way that Booker is playing just during that stretch, I'm going to give it to Nurk.
He had 22 rebounds tonight. Last time a Sun center had over 20 rebounds, I destroyed him on the podcast. It was DeAndre Ayton. I was so mad with him because he missed like an offensive rebound. Yeah. It was against the Mavericks.
Wasn't he like 20 and 20 that night too? Yeah.
It was something like that, and he missed like an offensive rebound at the end. He didn't box out. They won the game. I was so pissed at him. Yeah. But I'm giving it to Nurk, man. I thought he was fantastic in this game. So
good.
Next game for the Phoenix Suns, they're going to be playing right here at the Footprint Center on Friday against the New York Knickerbockers. And it's going to be a Shawn Marion go into the Ring of Honor night. One I really want to go to because everybody knows I'm a huge Shawn Marion fan. Until Devin Booker stole my heart a couple years ago, it was me and Shawn Marion, and I defended him to you all the time for all of his attitude stuff. I always loved Shawn Marion. So looking at the Knicks, a team that they took the Suns, hitting a miracle shot to go up to win 116 to 113 a couple weeks ago. How do you feel about the Phoenix Suns playing against the New York Knicks?
I can see it ending the same exact way. Oh, there it is. It's a double thumbs up.
It's a double thumbs up.
This is awesome, man. 2023. I love it, dude. That's a good New Year's one, too.
I remembered it.
Now I'm just going to do that all the time on the pod while giving my takes. What to watch for, or what are we talking about? The New York Knicks. Oh, yeah. One question, though. It's 8 o'clock. So is it a post-game Shawn Marion Ring of Honor thing? Did I hear post-game, or is it halftime?
I believe it's post-game.
Oh, damn. It's going to be a late night.
So, yeah, we'll be coming to you late that night, Jamsters.
Yeah, I think it's going to end the same exact way, man. I think it's going to be a close game. The thing is, like, last game when it started, Julius Randle was having such a rough time. Then he kind of found himself there down the stretch, and then it was just kind of tough on the Suns in certain situations. But I think having the big three back for a second game, you're going to notice a bigger difference. But I still think it's going to be a close game, though, right? Or you think it's going to be a blowout?
I think we're going to kick their ass.
Really? Okay.
I do.
All right.
I really do. Aussie Suns fans in the chat asked, did either of you guys pick me up a KD bobblehead? No, I didn't even get
Are we
one.
allowed to do that, though?
I wish. That's the one thing I would. You know me, I love Kevin Durant. I was looking.
It didn't look like him, though. Did you see it?
Yeah, but still, I was looking for little kids, and I was just like, I want to Draymond Green one of these kids, put them in a chokehold, slap them. I was like, hey, what's that over there? Just jack their KD bobblehead, because that's one thing I would put up behind me at the podcast. But that being said, let's go to our thoughts.
Thoughts. Brains?
Draymond Green suspended indefinitely after bitch slapping Yusuf Nurkic. Thoughts on that?
I mean, it makes sense. You can't just, suspend him for another 2 or 3 games after what he did, because he just came back, man, after another suspension. So the highlight reel continues where Draymond Green, maybe that's what he wants. He wants to have the highlight reel when he retires of him just punching people in the face and kicking them in the balls. That's fine, but you don't want that continuing through the NBA season. I mean, as a fan, sometimes it's kind of fun. Like, come on, it's kind of funny. It's kind of stupid. It's outlandish. It's kind of something that keeps us entertained, but it's just so fucking frustrating. Adam Silver did the right thing. If he comes back this season, obviously it'll probably be a 10-game suspension. But I think I don't think he plays more than 10 games the rest of the season. I just think it's kind of pretty much over for him.
I go the exact opposite. It'll be 2 games max. I honestly believe that. He's got to go and hit a couple qualifiers and see a sports psychologist and whatnot. It's just them instead of saying, hey, yeah, it's going to be a 5-game suspension again, or putting a precedent to it, they're simply just giving him a fake timeline to come back. He'll be back in 2 games. It's no big deal. Did you listen to Bill Simmons with Doc Rivers?
No, I didn't. I have a hard time listening to Doc Rivers. Him and his son, I just can't stand. So I don't listen to those pods. What do they say?
Well, one thing that Bill Simmons said, he goes, I really feel that Draymond Green's starting to go off the deep end this season. Doc Rivers was like, yeah, he got kicked out of a finals game for this stuff. And he's been like this his whole career. So it's the challenging thing is just not safe. It's just you shouldn't be out there and you shouldn't allow him to do it. So we'll see how long it occurs. I think it was interesting. It's one of the things when I first walked in the arena, that was kind of the Twitter notification was the Woj bomb that Draymond Green's going to be out for an indefinite period of time. And it's like, good riddance, man. Don't let that kind of crap happen in the NBA. It's like between him and Patrick Beverley, they're just 2 players who, there's a difference between physicality and being unsafe. And Draymond Green consistently has been unsafe. He's been suspended for 5 games already for choking out Rudy Gobert. And now, that happened a day before we played the Minnesota Timberwolves. And then he did it to our team but I honestly think it'll be a couple games. We'll see him at Christmas. I mean, just
All right.
saying.
I think I think I'll just again. I just don't think this season he finishes it off, and it's funny because you would think he would kind of knock it off just because Steph Curry's there and he's trying to have a hell of a season. Klay Thompson, absolutely, and he's a dumpster fire right now. But I think Curry's trying to make this a season as much as he can, and everything's falling around him. Everything just is completely disastrous around him, and that sucks for Curry. But you would think Draymond would get his head in the game just for that reason, but he hasn't. So the reason, because he is that way right now, I just think it's over for him this season. His head is just in a different place. If he's not putting his team first and he's still doing this shit, which is every other game, it's a different story, dude. I just really think he plays like 10 more games this year. But anyways.
Well, so says Jason. Thinks it's going to be a 14-game suspension. I think it'll be 2. That's my. I'll say this: he'll be playing on Christmas. That's my prediction. All right, and that's what 12 days away. So, outside of that, anything else you want to talk about before we get out of here tonight, Matthew?
I think that's it, man. I see you guys Friday night for a late pod.
Well, Jamsters, again, thanks for hanging out with us. Make sure you follow the show at Suns Jam on all the socials. You can follow me at Darth Void and read my writing at BrightSideOfTheSun.com. You can follow this guy. He said at Matthew Lissy for you listeners out there. And if you haven't tried it all before, give yourselves 2 thumbs up, and fireworks will happen. And make sure you give the pod a thumbs up as well. Matthew, before we get out of here, I did want to read a couple Apple reviews, and we'll do it next time.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, go home and love your family then. Is that it?